Okay, we're live. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to oh, a little nervous. Sorry. The Anarchist Guide to the Universe. Tonight we are going to be talking mythology and the night sky. And joining us tonight is Jason Major. So hi, Jason. Thank you for joining us. And
Thank you for having me.
oh, you're welcome. We love when you're on. I know
I'm always,
Carolina.
I'm always on.
I know, right?
Yeah, I love when you're on the show too. It's always so fun.
She fangirled last week.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was like, yeah, Jason's gonna be
Hard.
on. It all happened like last minute too, and I was like, yeah.
Start screaming at her because she didn't know that you were on that show.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the NASA Unexplained.
NASA's Unexplained Files.
Yes.
Yeah, I had no
right
idea
now.
that you did
Season
work
4
with
coming
them.
soon.
Awesome. That's so cool. We'll have to talk more about that later. We'll have to do maybe a show on it. Who knows?
Yeah. That was some serious fangirling, though. I mean,
It
that
was pretty hard. She was
it
screaming at
was.
her mom and everything.
Yeah, I got really
wait.
excited because I'm trying to convince my parents that we need to get the Science Network.
I can't believe you don't have Science Network. That's like
I know,
the Science Channel. Science Channel is an awesome thing.
I know.
It really is.
See, I don't
Yeah.
have a TV.
I'm going to be getting it specifically so I can watch the show.
Yeah,
Kurt,
exactly.
Kurt, you're one of those people. I don't have a TV.
I cut the no. I have a TV. I just cut the cord about 3.5 years ago.
Why?
Which means what? You only watch online now, or is that-
Yes.
Okay. Well, you can do that these days.
Yes,
Wait,
I know.
so you
if there
haven't
was
sold the TV to make the money that you're not using?
No, see, I have YouTube. I mean, I have YouTube, Hulu, Netflix, iTunes, and so I'd rather pay for the shows that I actually watch rather than some package of channels that Comcast says I have to have.
Yeah, and that half of them you're never even gonna. More than half of them, probably 90% you're
Yes.
never gonna even watch.
Every time I travel and watch TV in a hotel room, I'm reminded of why I don't have cable. And we've gone far afield, so let's.
It's even worse because you don't even know what channel. Sorry, I'll stop.
Yeah, this is totally tangent. Okay, let's gear this thing back over.
Okay, yes, let's get back to mythology of the night sky. Oh, and let me introduce, and of course, as always, Kurt and Carolina, who are here joining us as usual. So, I wanted to do mythology in the night sky because it's something that is near and dear to my heart. When I started college almost 2 years ago, Astro 25, which is the observation class through telescopes and field trips and stuff like that, I got to experience the night sky for the first time out in the Anza Borrego Desert. And the class was an amazing experience, getting to go up on the roof and look through the telescopes. I learned about the Summer Triangle for the first time, learned about Pleiades, which is my favorite sky object. But what I really got out of it the most was the trip to Anza Borrego and growing up in the suburbs of Los Angeles, you really don't get to see much of anything except for the moon. And that was always my favorite thing growing up, was the moon. I loved the moon. I loved the moons and stars, but I really didn't get to see the stars, but the moon was always there. So it's something that I always have loved. And so when I got to go to Anza Borrego Desert for the first time, I thought, okay, really, how many stars are we going to see? I could not believe how many stars we saw. It was freezing out there because it was November. So it was freezing. I've got on 5 layers of clothes. And we get there when it's light out, set up the telescopes, and it starts to get dark. And I'm looking up, and it's kind of like popcorn. The planets and the stars started coming out. And it was the first time I ever got to see the Milky Way. And I remember just standing there staring at the Milky Way, thinking, wow, this is the coolest thing I think I've ever seen. I cannot believe how many stars are out. I can't believe I'm seeing the Milky Way. And then I saw the Pleiades. And it was something that I will never forget. And I remember learning about the mythology in class and getting to see her them the girls out. It was just amazing, and getting to see them shine more than any of the other stars. It was something that was really, really amazing to me. And if it's a mythology you don't know about, it's a famous mythology. It's the Seven Sisters. You can technically only see 6 with your naked eye, but basically it's 7 sisters that were daughters to Atlas. And when Atlas had to go hold up the heavens, they were pursued by Orion. So Zeus, in order to keep Atlas happy and content, he put the 7 sisters up in the sky. Well, Orion still went chasing after them. And so every November until about April, you could see that playing out in the night sky. First, you'll see the Pleiades come up, then you'll see Orion come up, and they'll chase them across the night sky. And I always thought that that was the coolest, most amazing story. And what Kurt has up right now is the name of the 7 sisters. I'm not going to read them off because I will butcher the names, but those are the 7 sisters. And the 7th one that you can't see, the mythology behind that one, is that she was actually wooed by Orion. So I just think it's an amazing story. I love it. So that's why the Pleiades is my favorite. I know it's not a constellation, which, you know, most of the mythology is based off of the constellations. I like the Pleiades. It's my favorite. Do you guys have a favorite sky object?
Wow, that was not at that level. That's like that was such
That's some serious.
story.
No, the Pleiades are gorgeous. Oh my god, why do you think Subaru, you know, the company was inspired, you know, to have their whole emblem, you know, made, you know, designed after this, you know, beautiful open star cluster. It's gorgeous.
That is true.
And the way you know that you're seeing it is a little cluster of stars that might look like a little dipper, but it's actually just a cluster of stars that are really close together, and they're tinted blue. That's how you know, and they've got a haze around them. So that's how you know that you're seeing the Pleiades. And then if you look over, you'll see Orion. Well, Orion's belt. This is the easiest way to see the Pleiades. And I always recommend people going out and seeing that because it's really, really cool.
What's beautiful about the Pleiades too is that they've been known since, you know, Greek mythology, you know, since the origins of Greek mythology as the 7 sisters, and this was before, you know, they could even date stars. And now, you know, we can date back, you know, the birth of stars, and we can date back these stars actually being born together. You know, they are true sisters. So that's beautiful to me too.
You know, there's a funny, I got a bit of an interesting non-Western version of the story last September when I went to Acadia in Maine, and that's it's on the island that Bar Harbor's on, and so I went on a astronomy boat tour that basically took, you know, I don't know, 100 people, and it just kind of bopped around the harbor, and I guess he's a descendant of a Native American tribes that were native to the area, the Abenaki. And so this young guy, he was probably in his early 30s, and his specialty is telling these stories, telling the stories of his people. So there was a woman there who was pointing out the night sky and pointing out the constellations, and then he came and told the mythology of them, of the Abenaki tribe. And the Pleiades specifically was once again 7 daughters of basically a chief, and they were running away from the bear. And the bear, strangely enough, was also Ursa Major. So they also saw this as a great bear. And so they climbed up on a hill, and then they were climbed up on a tree, and then the tree grew, and they ended up at the top of the tree, and they were up in the heavens there. So it's neat to see how there are parallels in obviously cultures that were entirely different, and I'm sure it plays the same all over the world too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned that there's almost an exact same story that has to do with a plateau in New Mexico, and the story goes the Native
Devil's
American
Tower?
tribe. Yeah, exactly. The plateau rose up and protected the daughters from the bear and then they turned into the Pleiades, the sisters. So there's so many amazing stories, and it's funny how similar they are. It's always these sisters. It's just funny.
I remember
love
the
it.
Pleiades.
I love mythology.
The Pleiades were one of the first deep sky objects that I looked at through binoculars, and it gives a really good sense of you're not really going to get the stereoscopic depth like you would get if you're looking at things here on Earth, but you do get the nice broad feeling of you like pseudo depth, and you get to view the whole width of the cluster, and it's really gorgeous, especially if you have a relatively wide aperture set of binoculars, at least 50 millimeters. 50 centimeters. Excuse me. No. Millimeters. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, millimeters.
So a set of 7x50s, 8x50s would be perfect for something like that, and you don't have to have a expensive set of equipment. You don't have to have $1,000 telescope to go look at this. Just use your eyeball or set of binoculars that you have around, and it's great.
Binoculars are actually a lot easier. Telescopes are great. I know I want one, but binoculars, it's easier. First of all, you're not constantly bending over looking through the eye lens. Take the binoculars, you can look up. I mean, you can see the craters on the moon. Like I said, you saw the Pleiades for the first time through binoculars. Binoculars are a really good way to start looking at the night sky, especially the moon.
Yeah, it's nice because binoculars give you that wide angle aperture, whereas a telescope, it kind of zones in. It's harder to find a specific object, because you're unfamiliar with navigation, if it's your first time using it. But binoculars, you can pretty much point and shoot. You can get it all in one visualization. Open star clusters are the best, like Pleiades we're talking about, are phenomenal with binoculars, because if you're using a telescope, you need a special type of eyepiece. You need a wide angle eyepiece to get that same field of view. So the wide angle eyepieces are pretty much like the cost of the telescope I have. They're at least like $200 to get yourself a good wide angle eyepiece. So binoculars, really inexpensive way to get some really prime observations. I mean, the moon, you can even see some satellites around Jupiter, some of the Galilean moons.
Sorry, I had my head looking down, looking to see if we had any questions.
No, Ian and Ocean have joined us in the YouTube chat.
Oh, hi guys.
All right, hey, what's up?
Okay, so mythology in the night sky has been around for centuries. Our ancestors would use it for maps. Sailors would use it to guide them. Jason, do you have any? I know I asked this earlier, but do you have any favorite night sky objects? Favorite story?
Well, I guess I can jump into what I was planning on talking about right now, and it's timely for the it's good for this time of year because we're getting into spring is supposedly going to be over at some point soon. It will be summertime, and so the summer triangle is my favorite object at this time to look up and spot in the night sky, and that's because it's big, it's easy to find, and it's a great roadmap to a ton of other stuff. And it also reminds you that here in New England, summertime is a big deal because we only get like 2 good months out of the year before it starts to shift back over again. So it's always the summertime is you associate it with warm nights finally, and you can sit outside and and if you get some bug spray, enjoy yourself. So yeah, it's always nice. So anyway, let me. I can screen share up what the summer triangle is. I guess I'll give a brief intro. So, summer triangle is made. It's what's called an asterism. It's not a constellation per se. It's a collection of 3 really bright stars. Each one of them is part of a separate constellation, but together they almost make up their own constellation. It's kind of like the Big Dipper. Big Dipper is just a section of a much larger constellation, but it's kind of hard to piece together. You have to kind of expand your vision to see all the other stars, whereas that Dipper shape is really, really obvious. Same thing with the summer triangle. It's a really super obvious triangle that dominates the sky right above you. In the northern hemisphere anyway. Sorry if anybody's tuning in from Australia. It dominates the night sky in the northern hemisphere during basically all of the summer months and even through the fall, really up until like October, November. So let's see, I will bring up a picture I have here. Okay, so the summer triangle is made up of 3 stars in 3 separate constellations. There's Cygnus, there's Lyra, and there's Aquila. And in those 3 constellations, the stars Altair, which I'm circling here with the mouse, there's Altair, which is the eye of the eagle. The constellation Aquila is Latin for eagle, and you can see kind of here the idea of outstretched wings, tails back here, and so this is the head area. So Altair is the eye of the eagle. And then Cygnus is the swan, and these would be the swan's outstretched wings. It's kind of like you're looking at a swan flying overhead. And so these are the wings. The head is up here. That's actually another star, Albireo. But Deneb is the brightest star in Cygnus, so that's one additional part of the triangle. And then Lyra, which is a fairly small constellation, but it's also it's very important. Because Lyra contains Vega, which is the 5th brightest star in the night sky, the 2nd brightest star in the night sky in the northern hemisphere. So Vega is a very, very important star. It has been used for navigation for an extremely long time. It was one of the first stars, if not the first star, to actually be photographed and have its spectra analyzed. So Vega is a super important star. So between Deneb, Vega, and Altair, these form the southern triangle. And if you also I have another picture here. So a lot of times people will say to me, how do you see these pictures? How do you see a swan? How do you see an eagle? I don't see anything. I just see stars, and it doesn't make any sense. So I brought along a picture that I had taken of swans flying over. So, and if you've never seen a swan fly overhead, it's really impressive. I mean, they're big birds. They can weigh 8-10 pounds. They're some of the biggest flying birds that are out there. So when they fly over, you know it. You can hear them. So anyway, looking at these, you can see how the angle. I mean, really, the constellation Cygnus mirrors the angle of the swan's outstretched wings almost perfectly. So that's where that shape. That's where that outline is coming from. Let me come back over here. Okay, so there is some fun mythology that goes along with these 3 constellations, and I jumped over and made some notes on these. So I'm going to just read my notes because otherwise I would forget all the Greek names. But so let's see. We'll start with Lyra. In Greek mythology, Lyra represents the lyre of Orpheus. It was made by Apollo from a tortoiseshell. It was said to be the first lyre ever produced. Orpheus's music was said to be so great that even inanimate objects such as trees, streams, and rocks could be charmed. Joining Jason and the Argonauts, his music was able to quell the voices of the dangerous sirens who sang tempting songs to the Argonauts. If you remember any of those old Greek stories from high school or from college, I think Odysseus ran into some of the sirens. They were basically mermaids that could call out to you, and if you followed them, you weren't getting anything. You were going to get drowned. So at one point, Orpheus married Eurydice, who was a nymph. While fleeing from an attack by Aristaeus, I think I got that right, Aristaeus, she stepped on a snake that bit her, killing her. To reclaim her, Orpheus entered the underworld, where the music from his lyre charmed Hades. Hades relented and let Orpheus bring Eurydice back, on the condition that he never once looked back, causing Eurydice to be left in the underworld. Oh, I'm sorry. Never once looked back until outside. So Orpheus had to. The only way he could get Eurydice back is to leave and never turn around and look at her to see if she was following. Unfortunately, what did he do? He turned back to look to see if she was following just as he was almost out, and that means that Hades said, gotcha, so long, she's mine. Orpheus spent the rest of his life strumming his lyre while wandering aimlessly through the land, rejecting all marriage offers from any other women. So things did not work out well for Orpheus, and up in the sky, Vega lights his lyre. With Cygnus is connected with Greek mythology as well. Cygnus was identified with several different legendary swans. Zeus, who was a real cad sometimes, he disguised himself as a swan to seduce Leda, the Spartan king Tyndareus' wife, who gave birth to the Gemini, Helen of Troy, and Clytemnestra. Orpheus was transformed into a swan after his murder and was said to have been placed in the sky next to his lyre, and the king Cygnus was transformed into a swan. So there was some connection there. And Aquila the eagle is supposedly the eagle who basically held Zeus's thunderbolts. If you've ever seen some old-timey engravings or art or drawings of an eagle, even in some like Americana type prints too. The tradition, the neoclassical tradition, was to show an eagle holding stuff. Sometimes they show him holding arrows. Sometimes, but in this case, he would hold Zeus's lightning bolt. So I guess if he wanted to chuck some lightning at you and ruin your day, he would call his eagle over, and the eagle would pop over, and he'd grab a lightning bolt and throw it down at you. There's an alternative story there too, though. There's another one that says when Zeus fell in love with the goddess Nemesis, she did not return his affection, probably because she was smart. Anyway, Zeus then decided to turn himself into a swan, and he persuaded Aphrodite to take the shape of an eagle and pretend to pursue him. When Nemesis saw the swan being pursued, she gave it refuge. Little did she know she was bringing Zeus into the fold, and he did whatever he did after that. Zeus really got around. Yes, he was married, but I guess what Juno didn't know wouldn't hurt him unless it did, which a lot of times was the case. Greek mythology is really interesting. Yes, they're gods, but really they just act like ill-behaved people for the most time. So that's the story that ends up getting played out when you look up in the night sky. So anyway, these three constellations hold the stars that make up the summer triangle. What's really handy about the summer triangle is it can be used for navigation. If you look at the long axis of the triangle, so Deneb and Vega kind of connect the short side, and then they both point down the long way towards Altair. That points basically directly south, as it rotates around. So if you follow that, you'll always be kind of aimed south, which is handy. Some interesting notes about the stars here. If you've noticed, the names Deneb, Altair, to a lesser point Vega, but that's kind of a change from the original name. These are all these words. In fact, most of the stars, they're all Arabic names. The stars were first classified by Persian astronomers back in, oh boy, I couldn't even tell you what century it was, but it was probably something like the 11th or 12th century. They were some of the first ones to really catalog and write these things down, and those names stuck. Whatever they were called by the Greeks before that, some of those may have been ported over, but for the most point, a lot of the stars ended up getting Persian names. So Altair basically means eagle. That's an easy one. Deneb means tail, so that's the tail of the swan. And Vega it comes from the word that means landing, like a bird landing. So it's kind of connected, being it's where the eagle lands and it's nearby. It's a little convoluted, but again, it's all connected because people have been using the summer triangle and that part of the sky for navigation and observation for literally centuries, if not millennia. see if I got anything else. And as far as we're concerned, the term summer triangle, that's been around for at least 100 years. It was in some of the first published astronomy books that have been in use in the 20th century, since I wanted to say it was like 1913 or something like that. But it got popularized in the 50s when astronomy became more of a popular, every person's backyard hobby. So this time of year, if you want to look at the summer triangle, you're going to have to get up pretty early or stay up late because it's still on the motion over the sky. But by June, July, especially August, September, when you go outside and it's dark enough to see stars, look straight overhead, and you'll be able to see the summer triangle. And outline those, and from there you can find those 3 important constellations. And if you have a constellation chart or a constellation guide, you can use those to find lots of other constellations in all of the different directions.
So what's the biggest challenge that you have in your neck of the woods, Jason, for stargazing?
Well, it's really besides clouds. I mean, we get a lot of clouds. In fact, I haven't seen the stars in at least a week. I miss the full moon and Mars and all that other good stuff. It's just, especially springtime. Springtime in New England is typically a cloudy time of year. But other than that, it would pretty much be light pollution. I mean, I live in Rhode Island. Rhode Island does have its dark points down along the coast. A town called Charleston is a pretty dark night sky. There's a great observatory down there, the Frosty Drew Observatory, and my friend Scott McNeil down there, he gets some nice pictures. Sometimes when there's visible aurora, he's able to actually make it out in a long exposure. But for the most part, most of the state is well within the East Coast corridor that runs from Boston all the way down to New York and D.C. And all of that light is just bleeding into the sky and reducing visibility. When I lived in Dallas, it was much worse. The sky there never really got really black. It was always kind of a muddy brown, especially in the summertime. So you could only see the really, really brightest stars. You could see the summer triangle, but you could barely make out any of the constellations that were related to them. Here it's better, but still it's not anything like, like I was saying before, like going out to western Pennsylvania or going up to, northern Maine on some of the lakes up there, or best of all in the desert down in Arizona, New Mexico, Sedona, some of the best night skies I've ever seen. But you can make out the Milky Way here, which is nice. In fact, that's another handy part of the summer triangle. The Milky Way basically runs right through it, and Cygnus is like flying right down the straight shot of the Milky Way. So if you can find Cygnus, if you can find Deneb, you're looking almost right into the plane of the galaxy, which is really cool. So if it gets nice and dark, you'll be able to see Cygnus within a hazy band, and that's the Milky Way. In fact, Cygnus is the area of sky where the Kepler telescope was initially looking into, not anymore with K2, but its primary mission before the wheels broke was to look at a patch of stars that were inside Cygnus, because that's inside the Milky Way galaxy. You're going to get the biggest cluster of stars in there.
Cool. All right, thanks.
And I do want to point out that when you're looking up at a constellation, it may look like the stars are, how can
I know exactly what you're going to say.
They may be in the same constellation.
Yeah.
But they may be light years from each other. So
they're visually two-dimensional, but they're three-dimensionally very far away.
Exactly.
Yes,
so,
in fact, I jotted down some stats on some of these stars, and it's actually really interesting how the summer triangle really works. So Altair is the closest star to us. Altair is 17 light years away. Then Vega, which is the second brightest star in the northern hemisphere sky, is 25 light years away, so a little further away than Altair. But then Deneb's crazy. Deneb is anywhere from 3,500 to possibly even 7,000 light years away. Deneb is a huge, incredibly bright star that is one of the farthest stars that you can actually see in the sky with the naked eye. So when you're looking at these, yes, they form a nice triangle in the sky, but in reality, there's two that are kind of nearby, and then one's way the far away. But you can see it because it's big and it's bright, and that gives that illusion of being a two-dimensional shape.
Except for the Pleiades, the scientists believe that they were born from the same explosion, so they think that they're all
right.
pretty close together.
They're kind of in a little grouping. In fact, our solar system was born in a group of stars, very similar to the Pleiades. So if you were to go back 5 or 6 billion years, you'd see the sun and its sister stars in a very similar formation like that.
That's actually really cool.
It's so interesting to think about. And yeah, that was part of K2's mission, because they want to focus on star-forming regions, which is happening closer towards the center of our galaxy. So it's interesting.
It is. Carolina, did you have a favorite?
I have lots of favorite constellations. I think that one of my favorite has to definitely be Ursa Major and Cassiopeia, because they are the easiest to see year-round. So Cassiopeia actually rotates around the North Celestial Pole. So for astronomy, we have our little Earth, and we all know latitude and longitude. But for astronomers, there's Alt and Atmos. So that basically gives us the latitude and longitude, but of our celestial sphere. So it works the same. We're still rotating on the same axis as Earth. So the North Celestial Pole, where Polaris is, isn't actually straight above our head. That's zenith. It's straight at what is it, 27 degrees off or whatnot axis for being a dead center at 0. So Cassiopeia, I'll go into the mythology behind that. So she was married to King Cepheus of Ethiopia, who is actually present in the neighboring constellation. I'm going to put up a picture so you guys can see it. Okay, so here's the constellation Cassiopeia, and it's not really that good of a picture, so we can't see King Cepheus, but he's right here. I hope so. Wait, south, north. Okay, yeah, let's just say he's right there.
Why is her lollipop looking at her?
Well, Cassiopeia is extremely vain, so right here it shows her in her chair that she's supposedly chained to for forever, and she's looking at herself in the mirror. So she was an extremely vain individual and boasted about her beauty greatly, and even so much as to say that she was more beautiful than the Nereids, who are the 50 goddesses of nature with unmatched beauty, fathered by King Nereus. So they were supposedly the most gorgeous nymphs. So this enraged the Nereids when she claimed that she was, the fairest of them all. She was most beautiful. So the enraged Nereids, they appealed to Poseidon, who was married to one of the Nereids, one of the nymphs. So they appealed to Poseidon to punish Cassiopeia, and he sent the sea monster Cetus to enrage the coasts in which Cassiopeia and King Cepheus lived. So King Cepheus and Cassiopeia were really mad, and King Cepheus sought out advice from an oracle, who told him that the only way to make peace with Poseidon was to actually sacrifice his daughter Andromeda, which is how the Andromeda constellation comes into play, and she can actually be seen below her mother Cassiopeia. So Andromeda was sacrificed by her mother and father to the sea by chaining her to a rock by the ocean. But before her death, she was saved by a hero, Perseus, who can also be seen in the same region. So it's said that Poseidon also punished Cassiopeia by placing her in the sky, chained to a chair forever, to encircle the North Celestial Pole half the year upside down. So half the year we'll see it, the constellation Cassiopeia as an M, similar to this, and half the year you'll see it upside down as a W. So it's really easy to find. Basically, just get a compass, find north, find one of the brightest stars. That's going to be Polaris, and you know it's Polaris because the tail right here of Cassiopeia will be pointed to it. Boom! You'll go down. There's Polaris. So that's what a lot of astronomers use. That's what I use to know where's north at. That's one of the earliest navigations for ocean traveling, for navigating around the Earth. Some interesting objects in Cassiopeia I want to share with you guys are M52. So right here we have M103. Zoom in a little bit so we can see the stars better. So these are open star clusters. Really gorgeous. You can see a lot of younger stars, which are the blue ones, and some red supergiants, which are the red ones. Red, orange. Here's another star cluster right here. Gonna exit out of this. Okay, so that's Cassiopeia.
Also, can I add a little something in there?
Oh yeah, more than happy to. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Two things. So one, to find Polaris, and again, this is another question because everybody knows the North Star, but a lot of people don't know where to find it or how to find it, and then are surprised when they do find it. It's not very bright. In fact, I don't even know which one level of brightness it is it magnitude or whatever, but it's not a super bright star.
I think it's only like 8 magnitude or something like that.
Yeah, I mean it's really unremarkable unless you want to do a long exposure photograph to see the star trails, in which case it will be the one at the middle that doesn't move. That's when Polaris really shines. No pun intended. That's when Polaris really shines because it's the star in the northern hemisphere that stays right above the orbital axis of the Earth. Right now, anyway, but for all intents and purposes, it does. But to find it, there is a little trick. So a lot of people know what the Big Dipper is. That's a fairly easy one to find. So if you look down the Big Dipper, go all the way down to where the bucket part or the ladle part or whatever you want to call it, the dipper part of the Big Dipper. Handles over here, comes in. Find those last 2 vertical stars of the dipper part of the Big Dipper. Follow them up. Okay, so it would be up away from the open part of the dipping ladle thing. They will shoot straight up to the North Star. That North Star also happens to be the last star in the handle of the Little Dipper, which is composed of pretty dim stars as well. So that's even harder to find than the Big Dipper, which is why Big Dipper is a great place to start. So find the Big Dipper, go all the way down towards the bottom 2 stars and shoot right up, and that's where the North Star is. They point directly at it, and there's not a lot of stars in the middle. Again, unless you're in a super dark night sky and you can see every star that was ever created. But for the most of us, that's a good way to find the North Star. A lot of people are like, "That's it." I'm like, yeah, that's the North Star. Wow, I thought it'd be brighter. And it's like, yeah, well, it doesn't matter what you thought. That's where it is, and we all use it. And then the second thing is, if anybody saw Clash of the Titans, The original, like
Oh.
basically the only one that counts.
Yes.
I want to say it came out in what 1980, 1982.
Yes.
Cassiopeia, that was the character that was played by Dame Maggie Smith.
Oh,
And,
really?
Yeah, so she was Cassiopeia, and Sir Laurence Olivier was I guess her husband or whatever. No, he was Zeus. No, yeah. So hold on. No, did I get this wrong? No, Maggie Smith played Zeus's wife, right?
I don't.
No
Somebody,
idea.
somebody can pipe
Maybe
up.
Maybe she played Hera, the goddess of nature, who sometimes people say is Zeus's wife, but she's basically Zeus's like ultimate lover.
Yeah, well, yeah, Hera. So maybe
Yeah,
she
Hera.
played Hera. Did she play? I'm gonna have to look this up now. Go ahead.
I never saw it though.
Somebody must have played Cassiopeia, and I swear I thought it was Maggie Smith, but I could be wrong.
So
I'm gonna go
talking
off.
about Polaris, you were talking about the magnitude. So its apparent magnitude is plus 2.1,
Oh, it's 2. Okay.
and its absolute is minus 3.5.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a variable star, right?
I think within 0.1 magnitude, so a tenth of a magnitude. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why some people they are, equally not as impressed with Polaris because it does kind of dim every once in a while.
And again, I don't know why it has to be a brightness contest. I really don't.
know, right? Everyone can't be Beetlejuice, you know what I mean?
Or Vega.
Yeah, exactly.
And because of precession, Polaris will not be the northern star
Nope.
forever.
Yes, that is interesting to think about.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
But
I remember
also-
some things.
But it's also a great focal point for astrophotographers to catch star trails.
Right.
So that's
Yeah, a lot of astrophotographers don't want to catch star trails because they want to zoom in on, the Messier objects and stuff, but I, for one, love when you catch the star trails because you can see all the different, colorations, green, blue, red, orange. It's really cool. I love it when they have it pointed at the North Pole and
yeah.
it's rotating around it.
They make for a very, very pretty picture.
So
Yeah,
I would
definitely.
Picture.
I want to see if I remember. So the difference between apparent magnitude and absolute. Apparent is what we see here, and absolute is if you were a given distance from a star, how bright it would actually be. Is that correct? Is that the difference between the two? Do you guys know?
Well, absolute is basically how much light the star puts out. I mean, and it's not relative to how far away it is.
I thought it was if you were a given distance from every star, that would be the absolute magnitude measured at that distance. Is that not?
No, yeah, it's its output radiation.
Is it?
That's
Okay.
its absolute. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Intrinsic brightness. So, but you're right. If the 10 parsecs. So they're assuming.
Oh, it is for a given distance. Okay.
It assumes at exactly 10 parsecs. Why? I don't know. That's not even the Kessel run. So
Probably for just observing like controls. They need a control to refer to.
Things get stuck in here every now and then. Okay, so Ocean has said Maggie Smith played Thetis?
yeah, Maggie Smith I just looked it up on IMDb.
Oh, see this?
Yeah, it was a different woman, different actress. Played Cassiopeia. My bad. I'm sorry.
Phillips.
Which Sian Phillips was also in Dune, which is cool. She was awesome in that. She's just awesome anyway. So I'm sorry. I have to go back and watch it now.
Yes, you do, because you completely screwed that up.
Yeah, I did. I'm sorry, and it's on record.
I want to go watch it now.
You have to watch it. Oh, it's so full of awesomeness. And yes, it came out in 1982 or 1981, and some of the special effects and the hairstyles are goofy, but it just has awesome a classic Ray Harryhausen stop motion figures and little fighty scenes and stuff like that. Oh, it's so good. They don't make stuff like that anymore.
Okay, I have a question.
Nice.
Because I was forced to watch The Right Stuff. Is it better than The Right Stuff?
The Right Stuff was good.
That was the worst movie ever.
Wait, what?
Oh
What?
my God. No, shut your mouth. That was the worst movie. I was bored out of my mind. First of all, the acting was terrible. I know, I am a terrible person. I am a terrible space lover. Forgive me.
I am going to mute your microphone.
I'm so confused right now. Why was it so bad?
First of all, the acting was atrocious. For the great actors that were in it, that acting was atrocious. Second, it was supposed to be a hero story. Yes, I understand it was supposed to be true to what had happened. But
It's more about history.
Did they have to make the astronauts such horn dogs?
But they were.
But they were.
And that, but it was a hero story. It did not make me feel good.
You want to know about the reality that everyone lived, though, you know? You want to know the dirty secrets. See, I'm the type of person that loves, like, looking up, like, what you didn't learn in the history book. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
I love them.
See this book? Right? This book
Yes.
this book's about Al Shepard. Right?
Okay.
And Al Shepard is an amazing guy, fantastic pilot. The guy's got cojones of steel, okay, to do what he did. But yeah, he was a horn dog, and basically, except for John Glenn, okay, they were all horn dogs. John Glenn was a Boy Scout. Everyone else was driving fast cars and motel one night
I mean, face
stands.
it, they were like movie stars. They got to be movie stars. I mean, you know, it's. I mean,
you want
to live the movie star lifestyle if you can.
If you want to see the hero aspect, watch When We Left Earth.
I will. And Apollo 13.
Yes, there you go.
With my Tom Hanks.
When We Left Earth, I'm writing that down.
That's a great series. Excellent series.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And again, I don't know how it was playing out during the Apollo days as much. You know, with Jim Lovell and that bunch. They may have been. I mean, they were like three. They were the third major mission series in. But the guys at the beginning, the Mercury 7 and the Gemini guys, holy smokes. I mean, they were hot shots. And you know what? They were. I'm not forgiving it, I mean, at all. But they did what they did.
It's understandable.
Nobody could tell those guys anything. Nobody could tell those guys to do anything differently. And their culture was that. They were supported by the next guy, the guy to your right, and the guy to your left. They were literally wingmen.
And you have to know people that come from the forces too, like that like.
Oh yeah, and again, for another idea of that, read Mike Mullaney's book, Riding Rockets. I mean, here's a guy that flew on some of the first space shuttle missions, and that was in the '80s, and he was still talking about having no sense of how to deal with public sector life outside of having everything that you wore every day dictated for you. You know, I mean, when he got a private sector job working in the shuttle program, he literally didn't know how to dress himself because he was used to having, this is what you wear. So.
Yeah, it's interesting to learn about.
What's the name of that book?
Which one? The second one?
The one you were just talking about. Riding
Rockets by Mike Mullaney.
I would also recommend, it's not really space so much, but since we were talking about the right stuff, is Chuck Yeager's autobiography. Great book. He's funny as all get out. I mean, that's I would say Southern, but I guess West Virginia is kind of Southern, kind of not. But that dry humor, just how he reacts to certain things is it's stinking hilarious. So
what's
highly
the name
recommend.
of it?
Chuck Yeager's autobiography. I don't know. I read it years ago. You're asking me details.
Google it.
I got it. I'm just writing down Chuck Yeager's autobiography. Okay, he was good in The Right Stuff. His little story was good.
And he was actually in the movie.
He was the only one, or the person who played him, I can't remember the actor's name, he was the only one who actually did okay in that movie. It was just awful.
Sam Shepard, I think. You just have terrible taste in movies. That's okay. We understand.
That's the best thing I've heard all night. That's the best thing I've heard all night.
I do not have bad taste in movies.
You're like my son. My son recommends a movie, and I know I shouldn't watch it. So Michelle recommends a movie. No.
Wow, that's harsh.
That's rough.
Okay, Hot Fuzz. One
Okay.
of the best comedies ever with Simon Pegg and the Da
Your
Vinci
future
Code.
ex-husband.
I've never seen Hot Fuzz.
And
Actually, it was very good.
it's hilarious.
It's the best. It would be a desert island movie for me.
It's a good thing.
I don't follow Desert Island movie. What if you're stranded on a desert?
You got it.
Oh, okay.
So it's a
How did I know?
it's a short list. It's your short list of movies.
And
Hey, I wanted.
wait, hold on, just real quick. And the Da Vinci Code. Those two movies are great. I do not have bad taste in movies. Okay.
The Da Vinci Code.
I mean, the book was fun and
Like National Treasure.
book was fun and Tom Hanks is cool, but the movie, yeah.
Like, I don't like any of you right now. Any of you. Whatever.
That was good.
Okay, Jason, I interrupted you before you all started making fun of me. What were you
Well,
gonna say?
okay, that was going to be my attempt to steer it back on track, but I'll do it now. So we were talking about we're talking about Polaris, aka North Star, and being in the position it is, and I had mentioned that right now it is. Now, it is true because of how the Earth moves, and it's a little thing called precession, where it kind of wobbles on it spins on its axis, on its rotational axis, but even that axis has a tendency to over thousands of years that spins as well. So there's just a lot of spinning going on. So right now our rotational axis at the north is pointed directly up, and it just so happens that Polaris is in that spot. But 14,000 years ago, that spot was taken up by Vega. Vega used to be the North Star, and it will be the North Star again in another 12,000 years. So it's kind of interesting to think that all of the things that we see as, this is permanent, this is fixed, the firmament, it moves around, and it really all depends on your point of view, to quote Obi-Wan. From a certain point of view.
I love the original Obi-Wan. Anyways, so since we were talking about Ursa Major, I will talk about the mythology behind Ursa Major.
That sounds like a really good idea. Get me off of talking about movies, because I was about to talk about Space Cowboys, so I should probably shut my mouth.
Oh, that's a great movie. I like that movie.
Okay.
Okay, so a little bit of mythology behind Ursa Major. Let me get up the constellation over here. Giddy on up to Ursa Major. Okay, I apologize for this picture of Ursa Major being upside down, but this is how it's going to be. So this is showing the constellation Ursa Major. Little bit of background on the mythology. Callisto, who was the princess of Arcadia, captured the heart of Zeus, and they had a son, Arceus. As Jason was mentioning earlier, Zeus has many stories of sons, numerous sons and wives and nymphs, and so this is another son about his son. Another son about his son. Another story about his son, Arcas. So when he had this son, Arcas, with Callisto, this made Hera, the queen of gods, extremely jealous and angry. So she transformed Callisto into a bear and forced her to roam the forest forever. Years later, when Arcas was out hunting, Hera placed Callisto out in front of him as prey. And just before he was about to kill his mother, disguised as this bear in front of him, Zeus stepped in and sent Callisto soaring into the sky to become the constellation we now know as Ursa Major. So Ursa Minor is a constellation right here. You can see in the picture. It's the baby bear. It also has a similar handle with the pot, the little the Big Dipper, the Big Dipper shape. That's what we know as the Little Dipper. So it's said that the Ursa Minor is Arcus, the son of Callisto and Zeus, coming to join his mother. So the Big Dipper is one of the most familiar star patterns in the world. We've all seen the Big Dipper, even in actually, I don't think that in the southern hemisphere they can see the Big Dipper. You're not quoting me on that right now, but I'm not sure. I feel like they don't see the Big Dipper in there. It's a whole different ball game out there, and I'm not exactly sure what constellations they're seeing in comparison to us, so I'm not going to touch that. Okay, so I want to show you guys a couple pictures of some really awesome galaxies happening inside the constellation Ursa Major. So boom, this right here, Messier 82. M82 is a starburst galaxy. So this photo right here was taken with the William Herschel telescope. And this galaxy is calculated to be approximately 12 million light years away from us. I wanted to show you this photo as well. This is also the starburst galaxy, M82. But this is taken with the Chandra X-ray Observatory. So it's a space telescope that is using X-rays to observe objects. And what this picture right here is focused on is it's focused on X-ray sources being emitted from two intermediate mass black holes. And what is so interesting to researchers using this X-ray observatory is that these black holes are working against the gravity, trying to essentially cave them in and make them a massive black hole. So it's interesting for them to study. Right here, this is the Pinwheel Galaxy, also found in Ursa Major. It's M101. So this is a face-on spiral galaxy. So it's similar to a galaxy like ours, the Milky Way, which we're probably found somewhere on the outskirt, like right here, if this was our Milky Way galaxy. But we're seeing this head-on. So instead of seeing it in a flat, like a pancake, we're seeing it like a piece of paper. So it's really interesting. This one's really cool. This is the Owl Nebula M97. So this blue orb of gas is the star layer exploding, and eventually it'll contract into a brown dwarf, some kind of smaller remnant of a star.
Actually, it'll contract into a white dwarf. The brown dwarfs never made it.
Oh, okay. I thought only supernovas actually went into white dwarfs.
No. The sun. I mean, the sun will eventually be a white dwarf as well. And that's kind of what our solar system, our sun, might look like from this distance in another, 7 or 8 billion years.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's basically the outer shells of a star that are getting thrown off out into space.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a little bit about Ursa Major. I'm going to exit out of this if I can find my way back.
By the way, while you're doing that, Ursa Majors, I took a poll today the question was, what was... What are you laughing at, Jason?
Sorry.
You're being distracted me.
I'm sorry.
I'm easily distracted.
I have the mind of a 12-year-old. You can't say things like I took a poll today. Can't say that. I run with it.
Jason.
I was laughing to myself, and then you called me out. You made me bring it. You made me bring it to the yard. I didn't want to bring it to the yard.
Okay.
I was gonna make so many milkshake references, but I'm done.
Okay. Now, what was I going to say? Oh, I was talking about the poll.
See, that's what happens when I go away. It falls apart.
Jerome's not here. Somebody needed to do it.
The wheels on the bus go round and round. Chugga, 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 chugga.
Okay, so I asked what their favorite circumpolar constellation was. And I couldn't, unfortunately, I could not fit Ursa Minor in there because it only gives you 4 options to put. So it was Draco, Cassiopeia, Cepheus, and Ursa Major. And the winner was Cassiopeia. And it doesn't surprise. I actually thought Draco was going to be just because dragon. But Cassiopeia was at 43%. And it's understandable because she's super easy to see in the night sky. She's in the shape of a W.
And Draco's not. I mean, it's an awesome name. You got Harry Potter,
Yeah.
Draco Malfoy, Dragon, all that cool stuff. But but plotting it out in the sky, it's tricky. It's always. I mean, I have a hard time. I'm like, wait, what is that thing? Oh, it's Draco. It goes all the way over. Yeah.
I'm so happy you brought up Harry Potter because Harry Potter is so relevant to astronomy.
Of course it is.
Well, okay.
Not at all.
All the Harry Potter movies, amazing.
Oh yeah, no, and I mean, and
books.
hugely
Amazing.
the cast is based off of astrological objects in our sky.
Right.
And we're trying to educate people on the low. Watch out now.
Never seen them.
Did you just say on the low?
Oh yeah, on the low. We're slipping in that astronomy knowledge.
Okay. So
All of a sudden, everyone wants to name Regulus, and Sirius.
oh my god.
Seriously?
Seriously. Okay.
Serious.
So that brings, since we were talking about Draco's not easy to see in the night sky at all. So, like Jason said, trying to map it out.
You're gonna find the little box of its head. That's the easiest thing to find. You find that funny little box shape.
Yeah.
And then it's like the tail of a kite. The rest of the dragon like arcs around, and you just have to know. Yeah. It's almost like what's not another constellation, then that star is probably in Draco in that whole section of sky.
Yeah, the process of elimination and then finding the head. That's how I do it too.
And the thing is about Draco, the most famous star in it. I'm gonna Thubian sounds about right. I mean, you can't see it. It's really.
How is it the most famous?
That's what I learned about in class. It was like that was the star in there, the main one.
Okay.
Maybe it was my professor's opinion, but that's who told me that, so that's why I said it. Thanks for calling me out on that.
It's probably the Alpha Star, the first star discovered.
It actually means snake in Arabic and serpent in Persian. So maybe that's why. Jason.
Whatever. The most famous star in Ursa Major would then, or the Big Dipper would then have to be Mizar, which is the double star in the handle, right at the crook of the handle there. It's actually 3 stars are all clumped together up in there, but you can usually see 2 if you're real sharp. And then that pointer star that goes up to Polaris, that's Doobie. Yep, Doobie, the star.
Doobie the star, you
it's awesome.
help boy. Okay.
Shooba doobie on down to Ruby.
Yeah. It's my
Okay.
favorite star, man. Yeah.
So
Jerry Garcia, man.
I see it.
Thanks, Shaggy.
Like zoinks. What are all those stars doing up there, Scoob?
I think Jerome's going to be very sorry he wasn't on tonight.
Oh, he is going to be so bummed he was not on. And I would like to say hi to Astrodome. They have been watching. They were promoting the show. But they reminded me of something that Thuban was the North Star for a long time. I forgot to point that out. So thank you for reminding me, Astrodome. And hi, thank you for watching.
So it made the rounds when Procession rotated all things into play. Got to be its job for a while.
Yeah, that's what you were just talking about, Jason, not too long ago. Procession's very interesting.
Well, I guess okay. So maybe like Vega's on one side of it, and then the Polaris right now is on the other side. But then there's got to be other other ones are in the
Yeah, there
are in
has
the
to be
loop.
like a couple different points where it loops. Interesting. It'd be interesting to know which ones do you rotate.
There's got to be a website for that.
Oh
Now-
yeah, I'm sure. Oh yeah.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but back in the day, were the Giza pyramids not built based off of Orion's belt?
I don't know if that's ever been true.
For the what? For the what?
The pyramids of Giza.
The pyramids of Giza and Orion's
Yeah,
belt?
supposedly.
Isn't that kind of the myth?
And they're related to the summer and winter equinoxes.
Did we lose Kurt? Is Kurt here?
Yeah, can nobody hear me?
No, I can't. No, but your box is grayed out to me, so I was just making sure.
Okay.
It's okay.
Like
it's all right.
like Jason was mentioning earlier,
Thanks, Comcast.
the Middle East was a huge like astronomy educational rich. They had a university.
Yeah, well,
They were having Greeks. They were doing a lot of observing and a lot of mapping of the sky. So
for sure. I mean, modern,
ever since the Egyptians.
mathematics came out of both. We got geometry from the Greeks, we got algebra from the Persians. I mean, so they were doing all that stuff. They were cataloging all these things.
Yeah.
Like Carl Sagan said in his 1980 Cosmos series, can you just imagine the amount of knowledge that was stored in the Library of Alexandria and how much of that has been lost? I mean, you can cry over it. You can spend the rest of your life crying over the lost knowledge of the Library of Alexandria when it was set up in flames by an angry mob.
Yeah, when me and Rochelle went to JPL with Fred, he mentioned something very interesting about a document that a couple of the individuals the engineers had at JPL. Remember, Rochelle? That it was they had all of these like numbers and equations and stuff on the sheet of paper, so that if computers failed, they could always resort back to basic formulas of engineering things and astronomy, so that we wouldn't completely fail, so that we would be able to kind of pick up and continue with our technology and rebuild, because it is precious.
Ocean chimed in. Sorry about the pyramids and the stars in Orion's belt. Said yes, they're a direct proportion.
Yeah, there's been a lot of anthropological research on that.
I knew I wasn't crazy about that.
There's a whole
Well,
show
no,
about it, I think,
I
now,
know,
the Pyramid
yes,
Code.
I know I'm crazy, but I knew I wasn't crazy about that.
And they mentioned that like the larger Giza pyramids weren't so much like a tomb for the pharaohs and for the pharaohs, but as to like a sound healing, like resonant healing through like resonant sounds and stuff, vibrations. So it's interesting.
Watch out,
They've been
you're
doing
going down a
testing.
rabbit hole now.
Well, it's just interesting to think about like the different concepts that they were trying that now we relate to physics and stuff, between astronomy and sound waves.
Pyramid power?
It was so long ago. It's just so interesting for me to learn about.
Well, you heard that they just recently found a possible hidden chamber in it's not a pyramid, but in Tut's tomb. That was kind of cool. This is going for, if you hadn't seen it, it's kind of like ongoing research right now.
When did this
go?
Just fairly recently. They used fancy radar. So they used science to figure out the composition of the walls in Tutankhamun's tomb. Found that there's a spot that's not the same density as the rest of the walls. Say, well, that's been filled in with new wall or just a different material. There's a chamber back there, and it's possible that that's Nefertiti's tomb. So this may be the next big thing that comes out of Egyptology.
Yeah, what's so sad is that, they can't even excavate so much of that land because of the issues with government and stuff. There's so much knowledge to still be found there. Like you were saying, different testing on... Because, so many people robbed so many things, covered things up, came back and did more digging, covered up. So it's...
It's only recently where the they're getting strong laws, or they've developed strong laws on preserving all this stuff. Within the last 50 years? But how many thousands of years before that has it been kind of open game? In fact, the newest edition of National Geographic, I just got it in the mail yesterday, and it says Tomb Raiders, and it's about
exactly
the business. Basically, it's been big business raiding ancient tombs and antiquities for thousands of years. Ludicrous.
Yeah, and still people, with the whole ISIS and
that's another story.
Terrorism thing, they're buying these artifacts, on the internet and stuff, and they're these valuable, historical artifacts that have a lot of relevance to the history of our people in general. I say our people as the human race.
Well, yeah, it's all of our history. That's the thing. It's not, it's not potentially. Yes, it's a country's, but it's everybody's.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like we're all related, so.
Of course.
A little creepy to think about.
My brothers and sisters.
A sister from another mister.
Oh, God.
Exactly.
Oh, boy.
Still trying to get my swirly internet working properly.
Is it still
Squirrel!
Crappy?
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong. So that's why I'm on the hotspot right now, which has terrible bandwidth.
Do we have any questions or?
I haven't seen any questions come across at all.
That means that nobody's watching. Everybody left.
No. Actually, when it's interesting when we do our freeform discussions like this, we actually grow viewers. So
how do they know?
Yeah, it's just the good vibes.
Yeah, it must be the pyramid power.
It's those waves, it's just the frequencies.
Waves, man. And doobie.
God, Jesus, help me.
Jerry Garcia, man.
It looks like my internet is functioning again, but I don't want to disconnect from the hotspot and then have to come back in here.
Right.
So I'll keep it like this. But yeah, things are better now.
Use oven mitts.
What the hell does it mean?
Oh my God.
Because you're on the hotspot.
Oh, this is great. So, okay, so we got I did see on Twitter, Astrodome, which was, let's see.
Yeah.
Astrodome, yeah, Planetarium, at Planetarium_51 just said, are you looking for the North Star? Start with the Big Dipper and follow the pointer stars, and they have a handy chart there that works better than me going like this and stuff. So yeah, check out what Astrodome said, Planetarium_51.
Are they a planetarium in California? Because I want
Calgary, it says.
Oh.
Yeah.
Calgary, it's a little far. One day, one day.
It says they're traveling. They travel and they're digital, so they bring it to you.
Everyone knows about the external fuel tank coming to join the Endeavor at the LA Science Center, right?
How was that not the first thing out of our mouths when we started?
Yeah,
it's
I
not
definitely want
mythology.
to talk about that because it is so exciting. I mean, it's exciting to the city of LA that they're going to have this ginormous artifact, but the preparation that they have to do to get that thing down the streets, I mean,
It was intense.
first of all, driving in LA is a little, hard. I mean, you know, Rochelle. But getting that ginormous fuel tank, I mean, I don't know the circumference of it exactly, but it's ginormous. Ginormous. So they have to take the streetlights out and put them back.
Is ginormous a word in the dictionary? Ginormous?
It's gimongous. It's massive. It probably at least has a solar mass.
It's something cool to think about is the external tank. That's what us is being based off of. So the core stage is going to be an extended version of the shuttle's external tank. So take that and I think boost. I forget how much bigger it's going to be, but that's the assembly process or the template they're using. Just
are they going to make it reusable though? Because I know these external fuel tanks were kind of just like a one-time shot.
Yeah, no, it's not going to be reusable at all. And part of the reason for that, the velocity that it's reaching. So the shuttle's external somewhere around the Indian Ocean. So you can imagine how much mass they would need and propellant just to bring that back. It's just not worth the effort. Can't hear you. There you go.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely, that makes a lot of sense. I was just curious as to, because that was something that I learned, because shuttle was a little bit before my time, so I didn't know a lot about.
Oh my gosh, you young whippersnapper!
Oh, you kids!
So I didn't know a lot about when it was going up and the mechanics behind the shuttle and everything, but that this is the only actual external fuel tank. It's still in existence that could have been used. I think that's pretty awesome.
Yes. Sitting in the down at Michoud for several years.
Yeah, now they can make some use of it. Get it some hashtags and get it some selfies.
I have a selfie taken with it when it was at Michoud.
Oh, nice.
You should show that picture if you can find it, because
throw it up.
As soon as we started talking about rockets, you came to life.
I know, he just lit up. Don't you love that?
I do. I do.
Because I know rockets. I was telling Jason before the show that I used to know a lot about astronomy. I did. I mean, it was a huge part of my life. I had a big telescope, pier mount, and all that. I was a founder of the astronomy club in the city I grew up in.
Oh, wow, you had a pier mount? Wow, that's serious.
I did.
Those things were like $2,000, man.
And it was nice. It was a need reflector on a German equatorial mountain. The sweet scope had a clock drive.
You got some hardware. Wow, just name dropping right there. Okay. Wow,
I used to know this stuff.
Making me jealous.
I used to know it.
That was back.
I believe it.
That was back when Thuban was the North Star.
That's right, exactly.
They had a whole different set of stars going on. Where's Rochelle? I made a joke and she left.
That's okay. Let me see if I can pull up that picture. Talk amongst yourselves.
Discuss. I never got into actual full-blown observational astronomy, backyard astronomy. It was always kind of like I don't know. It was a hobby that was the hobbyists did it, and it's just funny how yes, I'll talk about space and what Cassini is doing and what Curiosity is doing and what's on Europa and all this other stuff, what the sun is made out of, but where certain constellations are and everything, I'm still learning that. That's only been over the past year or two that I've been figuring a lot of that stuff out. Thankfully, there are great apps out there. There are I use Star Walk on my phone. That helps out a lot. You just hold it up and say, what am I looking at? Oh, okay. And if you do that enough times, you get to kind of remember what's happening there. But I still have to brush up. Every time the seasons change, say, okay, oh yeah, that's that one again. It's tricky, but then there are people out there who know it like the back of their hand. It's their extended family. They know who's who and what's rising when and what star is in what and where to find all the deep sky objects in each one. That's a real skill. So the fact that you lost that, Kurt, shame on you.
Well, that's life happens. I mean, I'm gonna sound like Sherlock. I've got a hard drive up here. Not everything is important, and that wasn't important at the time.
Oh,
so
okay. Well, that makes sense. That makes sense.
All right.
No, you're right. It does take a lot of time, and this past semester I wasn't able to spend a couple hours a week out in the field observing.
So there.
And trying to look at different binary star systems and stuff, and do different observations, but I love doing that. That's a beautiful picture.
So that's ET-94 by itself.
Oscar Mayer mobile a little bit.
Oh, for crying out.
And there's
a hot dog.
That's
exactly.
There's a complete. I think that was a structural test article for the hydrogen tank. And you can see the intertank adapter there that would go between the liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen tanks. And the rear dome assembly. Yeah, there's the selfie. See, I've been there in front of ET-94.
Wow, that's
cool.
So
that was me looking rather scruffy. So yeah, that's
awesome. Thank you.
Look like
I'm glad they're actually zip it. So I'm glad that they're finally making use of the tank. That she's not just sitting out there in the elements in Indiana just falling apart.
So obviously that, and I might be, part of it is just making sure for myself, but also to let other people who might have the same question. That tank never actually flew, right?
No.
That was just a backup, I guess, or was it a test tank?
No, it was actually slated to fly, and I forget the history behind it. I think it was maybe around the time of the Columbia incident, and so they used it there. It was slated to fly on the next mission, maybe, if that's popping in my mind. But because of the foam breaking off, they used it to test, and then they just put it there for, I guess, evaluation purposes. But no, it was originally supposed to be a flight article.
Okay. Interesting. So it has its own history.
Yes.
being used
Oh
as-
yeah. Yeah, I'm really happy that they're going to get some
in place.
use out
It's
of
one
it.
of those NASA very many people think about, but pretty much every big rocket that we've flown has come out of Michoud. So, and they're working on SLS now. They're already working on parts for EM2. So EM1 is under construction, and parts of EM2 are also under construction.
Oh, and that's all happening at Michoud. Interesting.
Yes.
How big is their facility there? I would imagine it's
Oh.
a couple.
It's
Miles?
massive. So yeah,
832 acres. Wow.
Oh, whoa!
That's the entire facility, I guess, grounds and everything. But yeah, 832 acres.
that may be actually what's under roof.
Wow.
I mean, it's huge. I mean, they drive us.
I believe it. I believe it.
Now, one of the interesting things they've done is they have leased certain parts of the assembly facility to one's a movie studio, so they're actually inside Michoud, and they've got I think Boeing.
That makes
Boeing
sense.
has a part that don't need, because of the modernized the assembly process. The force they did for the Saturn construction and for the external tank construction. I have a picture somewhere, if I can find it, that shows the whole facility in model form, so I can find that. No, not this one.
Ooh, I love models.
Yeah, I know we're kind of strayed from the topic. So is that okay, Rochelle, that we strayed from topic a little bit?
I'm happy.
Don't laugh.
I'm happy that you're happy to be talking about rockets. And you know what? Ooh, almost tipped over my water. I didn't even think about talking about ET. That would have been perfect for you. So it is. So run away with it.
All right. So, all right, let me
Phone
bring this
home.
picture.
E.T.
All right, so here's a model, Michoud, that shows how big the assembly area is. So if you look, there's SLS and Saturn V back there, but this is everything that is under roof is in that building there. And
Is the shuttle to scale? Sorry.
yes,
Okay, nice.
that shuttle is
Oh, okay.
not. They have one. If you look
didn't
right
think
there, if you look right there where the cursor is, there's the tip of the external tank.
Oh, right on.
So that's to scale for the building, and so they've got the new big welding tool called. That was the first NASA social I went to, was the welding tool, the vertical assembly facility, and then back in this area is where we're working on Ares.
Is this where they have the underground facility too that goes down?
No, this is all just a hair
that's at
under
Kennedy,
skin,
huh?
actually.
That's at Kennedy.
This is in Louisiana. So there was an interesting
Okay.
story that they told us during Katrina, that Michoud was one of the places around New Orleans that stayed dry, and they did that because they had people manning the pumps. Now the pumps, the automated stuff, and they were so old, they couldn't tell how quickly the water was pumping out, and they had to. So the guy who was manager of Michoud at the time had regulations on paper to determine the incoming water rate of how quickly the facility was flooding and how quickly the pumps were out. Because if they did it too quickly, then the pumps would run dry and they would have to be reprimed, and by the time all that happened, the facility would flood. And if they did it too slow, then the facility would flood. So he had to maintain these calculations running. So he stayed up for like 2 or 3 days straight making it dry, because the Coast Guard and military were using Michoud as a rescue spot for
Wow.
operations. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Wow, that's impressive. Wow. That is a good story.
But inside Michoud, they will drive vehicles. So just a huge passenger van, you'll get in it and they'll drive you around from one area into another inside, and people use bicycles to get around. So it was it's a pretty big place. So
They build spaceships. That's way cool.
Yeah.
Right?
Very.
That is awesome.
Let's see if I can find.
Spaceships are very, very cool. Yeah, very, very cool.
So they had. Let's see here. Come on. Hotspot and be slow.
Set the fire.
So this is the vertical assembly facility. So what this is a friction stir welder. This is where they're building the propellant tanks, or SLS. So it's it took them a while to get everything aligned, and it's so tall that the state of Louisiana considers it a skyscraper. So if I had,
They don't have very many skyscrapers, do they?
it's pretty tall. I'm going to see if I can find. Let's see. Kind of hard to see in this picture because it's dim, but if you look, I mean, so this rail is to scale. A person is about as tall as this rail, and you see it goes way up there, and that's what they're using to build the tanks for SLS.
Yeah, it's a beautiful machine.
So I know we went off topic, but so anybody pick up constellations again?
Off topic, but still on topic.
Yes, exactly, and that's okay.
Because hey, when we're launching out to space, they have to know what constellation they're, projecting to for the telemetry.
What? Okay, since we're off topic, I want to ask you guys what you think about this debris that they're going to
For the 2020.
They want to shoot it out of the CubeSat to make a display, if you will, of I think it's like sand.
Meteor shower.
Yeah, it's. What do you guys think of that? I'm
It's
curious.
$8,000 per little dot that they want to drop out. $8,000. I mean, like, that's not even resourceful.
I have not heard about this.
It's
What?
not.
I have
Oh
not-
yeah.
Yeah, it's a startup
I
company.
have not
They
heard
want-
about this.
So basically, Jason, it's a startup company. They want during the opening of the Olympics in 2020, in China, right? Yeah, in China. No, is it China or Japan?
Yeah.
Brazil. No, it's a
Brazil?
Chinese
Yeah.
company.
There you
They
go.
want to do it in Brazil. Yeah, sorry. Whoa, because I was like, yeah, Shanghai, that just happened. Okay, yeah, so this startup company, they want to do this meteor shower. And it looks really cool, and it's a cool concept, but it's just adding more junk out in space. I mean, this...
Well, is it adding more junk? If it's going to burn up on the way down, it's not really adding much of anything. But are they? Are they honestly going to be able to fix the trajectory of these things so they create a meteor shower in that specific spot without any debris actually hitting the ground anywhere? I guess.
Yeah, I don't know how this got passed by like the whoever does the safety kind of for the satellites and stuff,
Yeah.
because I don't know how they could control the trajectory of
Yeah, and like what about
objects flying down.
other stuff that's out there too? I mean.
Yeah, are they going to
I don't know
catch
how they
something
factor
else
that.
on fire if this thing's falling and it's on fire?
I just feel like the safety of it
Yeah, it doesn't sound.
it doesn't sound.
It's a bad idea. It's just all in all a bad idea.
It's a waste of resources, honestly, because like we could be sending CubeSats out for research, not for a show.
Well,
I mean, we have fireworks for show.
Right.
I will disagree with that somewhat, strictly from the point of if it gets people interested about, hey, what is this that you're talking about? If they think of it, there may be some value. I think it's stupid though from a orbital debris, because if they can't guarantee that everything is, it's going to be up there creating issues. If somebody wants to pay for it, that's their money with as they please, I guess. But the potential for danger for other orbiting craft is too high.
That's it. Like, what
Yeah,
if one of these
isn't
things
there-
doesn't fall and ends up sticking around in orbit, and next thing you know, a satellite that's actually useful, ends up getting whacked by it, and causes a whole chain reaction. Next thing you know, we're playing out gravity.
Yeah, or like this thing falling basically gets incinerated from the velocity, right? So what if it, doesn't reach that velocity and it gets stuck in orbit and then hits a satellite and explodes the satellite because it catches fire, type thing. It just doesn't really make sense. And isn't there an organization, I don't know, I felt like there was, that monitors all the space trash and kind of sets up protocol for
I thought a Department of NORAD
safety?
did some of that stuff.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
U.S. Space Command.
So I meant to look this up, but how do they feel about this? Do they feel like there's a potential hazard? Did they pass this? Because it seems
I don't know that
like
there is any global agency that gives the okay for stuff like this. I mean, if you have the launcher to do it, then I think it's up to the country that's launching you to approve it, and that's it. There's no global clearinghouse.
So how
Okay.
would these things be deployed? Like, what's actually going to deploy them? You said it's a Chinese launcher and a Chinese vehicle that's going to actually go up there and do this?
I'm going to link
Yeah,
you the
after
article,
the
Jason.
Chinese destroying that satellite and creating all the space debris and issues up there, I don't I don't trust what they want to do. I don't trust their decision making. Let's make a NATO, but for space.
I mean, yeah, the Chinese do not have a for caring about who they harm with what they're launching. And
I mean, they got good
say they're trying-
ideas, but it's the result that's not sticking up to
They-
it.
They drop their boosters in their own cities and go, oh well, I killed some people. I mean, I'm not kidding you.
I didn't
mean,
even
because
know that.
they
Wow.
use- oh yeah, there have been reports, and there was one city that was particularly badly damaged because in their early rockets they were using, I think, hydrazine in some of their early boosters, and so when they would drop in the city, there's toxic propellants everywhere, and yeah, it was bad. It was really. I mean, I think the numbers that were killed were hard to come by, but it was not in the single digits.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't.
There's not an organization that like looks out for everyone as a whole, because not everyone makes good decisions, and it's good to have checks and balances for these kind of big decisions that are going to impact everyone who has a space program, everyone that's sending out satellites to space. I don't know, it doesn't make sense.
I tagged you in the article, Jason.
Oh, okay.
It does look really cool, though. I will give you that. And like Kurt was saying, if this does get people interested in space and like things falling from space and whatever is going out in space, if it gets people interested in that, that is awesome, and that is probably part of their goal.
And but it's Japanese, not Chinese.
There could be different ways to do it. Yeah, I knew it was one or the other.
I just for Tokyo.
No, I knew it was Japanese, and then Astrodome gave the information as well. So thank you. But yeah, I'm surprised you hadn't heard of it, Jason.
Yeah, we had been talking about it.
They're gonna have.
How dare you not pay attention to my tweets?
Skycan. They call it Sky.
Oh, whoa!
So you can see the nice yellow cloud coming out from behind this booster.
Yeah, that looks great for our oxygen.
That looks fantastic, doesn't it?
Yeah. So thanks, China.
Let's breathe it all up.
Well, this will be done from this company is a Japanese company, and it will be for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics.
Okay, it was Tokyo.
Yeah,
okay.
No, you're right. I'm just trying to see what it says. Each of these, so basically, it's like a small, like you said, a small CubeSat, and it would go out and it would fire out little pellets, basically of different of different metals, different elements, and as they burn up, they create different colors, everything from a pink to an orange to a blue to green, depending on what they're made out of. And they'll burn up at, let's see, so there would be 500 to 1,000 pellets. They'll burn up on re-entry, about 35 to 50 miles up, and they'll be able to be seen from a 120-mile area around the city.
And those pellets, like, I mean, what kind of size are they? Because, I mean, we know meteorites that are small, they fall to Earth all the time.
Yeah, well, most meteors are that we can see, during a meteor shower. I mean, those grains.
Yeah, they're grains.
Yeah, they're dust-sized grains. They're they're coming in with such velocity that I mean, this spacecraft will not be able to match the velocity of your standard meteor. So that means that the pellets themselves will have to be bigger than dust grains. But still, chances are that they're not going to survive a full reentry. They'll burn up at that size. There'll be nothing left to hit the ground. I would personally, I say I think it's a bit exorbitant. They're talking about each one of those pellets is an $8,000.
Yeah, it's just.
But then again, fireworks are expensive. I mean, you look at some of the world's biggest firework displays that they have. New Year's fireworks from Sydney and from Boston, and some of the big, the 4th of July fireworks they have in Boston. I mean, those things cost
every day at Disneyland. Every day there's a glorious half-an-hour fireworks show. Yeah, I mean that's gonna cost them at least $1 million. More than that every year.
So I don't think that this is that much of a terrible bad thing. If anything, they're going to use a lot of money to get a relatively small impact. I mean, yes, it would be cool. Oh, look up, look and see the meteors. All right, we're talking about one of the world's biggest metropolitan areas. How much of the night sky are they even able to see?
Yeah,
This isn't a
exactly.
dark
Can
sky
they even
place.
see that? Yeah.
So
No, not at all.
I'm wondering how visible their $8,000 meteors are gonna be when they finally drop. They'd be better off with the fireworks show or one of those fancy new drone shows that people do. Send up. This is Tokyo. Send up thousands of drones and have the whole night sky turn into a web of scintillating digital fireworks. Why don't you do that? This just seems to be a waste.
Yeah, that would be a better idea.
Yeah,
like
but
that idea.
look at all the PR they're getting off of this. Even if they do nothing, they've gotten a ton of PR off of it.
Well, yeah,
That's true.
Yeah, no, there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Exactly.
They are trying to make a point with it.
I want to point out that Disneyland here in Anaheim, every night their fireworks show is $65,000.
Yeah, and it goes off for like half an hour, and that's been going off every day since like probably the last 5 years. I mean, they used to do it like every day for just the summer or like for July, but now it's every day. Every day.
Now that Disney owns Lucasfilm and Marvel, they can afford to to shoot them off every day.
Oh yeah, they make it rain with cash at that park. Actually. They're like, oh, you need money to buy a hot dog? Here you go. We're gonna make it back from you anyways. I can say that because I have a pass.
God. So, Kurt,
Yes, ma'am.
did we cover your constellations?
Yes, we did.
We did, didn't we? No, we did not.
No, we did.
I was gonna say we didn't, did we?
He is gonna kill me. He is gonna kill me.
No. No, we covered mine. We're good. My constellation was ET94.
Was what?
ET94.
I knew you were gonna say that.
You know what? It kept cutting out. It was what?
See, my internet is terrible because I'm on the hotspot right now.
The external
Yes,
tank.
Oh, E.T.
I'm talking about the external tank. Yeah.
Is that constellation? No, that's right.
E.T. Fun Hum.
England,
Surrender.
Do I have to?
E.T.
Nobody wants to hear what I have to say about it.
What were your constellations? I forgot.
None. No, I had Orion and.
Okay, you got to at least talk about Orion because Orion is a really cool constellation.
It is.
Tie-in.
So tell us about
It's a
it.
cool constellation.
So tell us about it, Rochelle.
What were your other ones?
And I had Andromeda and Scorpio.
Okay.
Oh, the story of Andromeda is great. She was the chained maiden to
Carolina,
the
go ahead. Yes,
rock,
please.
as I was saying.
No, continue.
Yeah,
please.
so
I was going to
Andromeda
say the
was the
same thing,
chained
but you go
maiden.
ahead.
Do you really want me to keep
Please.
going? Okay, so she was the chain maiden. She was Cassiopeia's daughter, who I almost said he, and King Cepheus sacrificed to Poseidon, the water god, and just before she was going to be killed and sacrificed, Perseus, the hero, came and rescued her, and he used the head of Gorgon Medusa to kill Poseidon. And he is actually seen in the night sky. I forgot what star makes up the head of Gorgon Medusa. I want to say it starts with an A. Can't really remember.
Algol?
Aldebaran?
Aldebaran?
Aldebaran. I think it's Aldebaran. Anyways, so yeah, one of the red supergiants makes up the head of Medusa, and unfortunately, Perseus and Andromeda did not look away in time time from Medusa's head, and they were both killed as well, but they forever will be united in the night sky. So they're seen close in the sky. So it's a good story.
So I don't know if during my departure because of the internet problems, did you discuss anything about Scorpio at all and what's happening in Scorpio at the moment? Okay, so I will talk about that. I'll bring that, and then we can use that as a jumping off because people know more about it than I do. Let me find this. Here we go. So right now, we have 2 planets that are in Scorpio at the moment: Saturn and Mars. And Mars, we just I think was at opposition. Was that last night? Is that correct, Rochelle? Yes.
Sorry, my mic was off. Yes. And we'll talk about opposition a little bit when you're done.
Oh, so we have in Scorpio, Saturn near one claw and Mars. What I'm using here is iSafari, I think it's called, on the iPad. So take a look if you're interested in this, and if you want an astronomy app, it's a great little application or app that you can use on. Then they make it for both Android and iOS, although the Android version may be a little behind, I think, at the moment. So, but in Scorpio at the moment we have Moon, Saturn, and Mars. So, and then Scorpio has got Antares as its brightest star. And I think Scorpio, so 2 of my constellations, one was Scorpio and one was Orion, and they are actually tied to each other. Scorpio was supposed to have killed Orion, and they were both put in the night sky opposite of each other. So when Orion sets, Scorpio rises. So that's the extent of my knowledge when it comes to the mythology, because I want to know this stuff, but it's not in my wheelhouse, and that's what makes us such a great team here, is that people like Rochelle, Carolina, and Jason know far more about that stuff than I do, and so they can pick up on it. This is my segue into somebody else talking about the mythology part.
Well, all right. Can I instead of mythology, and not to ruin your segue, but so Orion. Okay, so Orion is one of the more recognizable, probably people's big 3 constellations in the night sky. It's a great humanoid figure. It really looks like what it's supposed to look like. There's not a lot of imagination, once you kind of point it out. Plus, it's got the 3 stars and everything like that. But the air and a lot of people who like astronomy also know about the nebula in Orion. The middle star of Orion's sword, hanging below his belt, is actually a nebula. But Orion is actually also filled with nebulae. It's the entire region of the night sky around Orion is a star-forming region. And so, at one point, I don't know when exactly, somebody made a 212-hour exposure of the Orion constellation and the region around it, and then worked on it for a year, processing it, doing various things, and came up with this image, this incredible image. It's a 212-hour exposure of Orion, and you can see, and when I mouse over, it'll outline it. So here's Betelgeuse, Bellatrix, the 3 stars of Orion's belt, Alnitak, Alnilam, Taka. Yes, they have names, so it's always fun to know those. You can quiz people on the street; they look at you funny. As Saiph and Rigel, and all this area over here, these are all nebulae, Barnard's Loop, the Orion Nebula, that you can kind of see, but all this stuff you can't see with the naked eye. Your eyes just can't pick up that much light, that much basically energy and radiation that's coming from the night sky. But it's there, and if you could pick that up, that 212-hour exposure, you would see this when you look up at Orion. It's incredible to see how how much is going on in the night sky that you can't even discern. You need to have a camera. I mean, this isn't even about telescopes. You need to have a camera to pick this type of stuff up and be able to process
And this
it.
is all visible wavelength, correct?
Let's see. So extremely long exposure, 2014. It said there was an additional year of processing. I understand what you're saying. Is this visible light, or are we including infrared, ultraviolet, other various emissions? That I don't know. I guess I'd have to go to, I'd have to do some research on it. But it's
It has to be yes.
it's just incredible.
It has to be yes.
That's gorgeous. That is a gorgeous.
look at that.
There's no way you can see that with your naked eye.
Oh no. What I'm saying is you can't, the amount of light that this is putting out. I mean, it very well could be visible light wavelengths. It's just that dim. That's
Right.
not what our eyes can pick up. We can't see in long exposures like this. But isn't that amazing?
That is probably one of the
I
most
think
gorgeous
that-
pictures I've ever.
So I will. This is on the Astronomy Picture of the Day, which is a great site. He's been putting this out for years and years now, and every day a new picture. So I will. I'll post this up in the forum here, and maybe somebody can link it out.
It doesn't say if they use ultraviolet or X-ray.
I'd have to look that up. It doesn't say down in the description that it's another wavelength. So
Okay.
now I'm trying to not screen share. Okay.
Yeah, because what's so phenomenal, like you were saying, Orion has so much phenomenal gas explosions from those nebulas that's all visible light. It's not even in infrared. But yeah, we can't really see it with our eyes. You need long exposures to really capture that really sensitive weak light.
Right. So I just put that link out. I don't know if Kurt or Rochelle, you can share it out. Okay, so I just found another exposure. I just want to see if it's CCD camera, 242 hours. This is a different exposure I'm looking at. But yeah, it's this is the type of light that's picked up in optical wavelengths. So technically, our eyes could see this if they were that sensitive. It doesn't require, it's not infrared, it's not X-ray, it's not ultraviolet, gamma rays, or any of that other fancy stuff. It's not radio wavelengths. This is in the narrow band of the electromagnetic spectrum that our eyes can see. So that's amazing.
Nice.
That picture was
nice. I wish I could keep my eyes open for that long and catch that much.
Even if you could, and the funny thing is like that's not how our eyes work at all.
Yeah.
You can't just sit there and look and get more data. Your eyes just don't work that way. But fortunately, CCDs do.
Yeah. I wish that's the way our eyes worked.
Of course. Now the way you really have to do astrophotography is a lot of that stuff is getting stacked. Images are taken, but they're not. I mean, the camera literally isn't left open for days and days and days because it doesn't work that way. You'd end up getting so much noise in there. So you end up having image stacking and processing, and that's where probably that year of processing comes into play. If somebody is doing this as a hobby, it's going to take a long time to process all of that imagery. But boys,
why do you think it takes so long? Because they have to take all the negatives and the positives?
It's probably because they're getting all of these images. I don't know how many images would end up having to be stacked together to resolve, with sharp detail, all of those stars and stuff. So all of that processing time, you've got to gather all the images. I mean, it takes a while to do things with digital photography.
Yeah, it does. You have to take so many different pictures, and different color lights.
I'm sure
the green, the blue, the yellow,
yeah, I'm
red.
sure someone that does astrophotography would know more about what that would take.
Yeah, I learned a little bit about it. It does take all the stacking programs though, and you have to take all the different color of the infrared, and then you have to take all the darks on top of that. So literally, you just sit there and snap your camera with the lens on it for every time you took a regular picture.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a lot of work.
So Ocean had chimed in and said that when they do the colorful nebula pictures, that they use filters based on the different wavelength of light they want to pass through. So I guess that's what they would do, is they would take a long exposure with certain filters on and then stack those later and get the different colors like that. So makes sense.
It does. Very cool. Speaking of astrophotography, we need to start showcasing people's work on here. I think we should start with Jason's one of these days, because he
I
takes
do not do astrophotography. I shoot the
No?
moon.
Okay, but that's still astronomy, and it's still a beautiful subject.
I
Doing
wish I could
amazing,
afford a
amazing job
camera
with the
to
moon.
take astrophotography.
You don't. I mean, you can get an inexpensive DSLR.
Yeah, there's
mean,
still
you
like
could-
$400 on a good day. $400 I don't
No,
have.
you can but you can buy a used one. You know, a used camera body that's in decent shape, that may be a couple of
Yeah.
generations old. I bought the camera that I just bought is one generation old, but they still sell it new, but it's a refurbished one, and I got it for a hair over $400, but it's a pretty good camera body. But you can find the consumer brand or the consumer models, or refurbished for probably significantly less than that. They have some great bundles, and just get at least maybe a 300 millimeter lens, and you can pick up some older ones of those for probably $100. There are plenty of websites that sell those. And
See, you're the guy I gotta talk to.
no, Jason knows far more about this.
I do mostly nature photography, but
I'll do some camera talking with you, gentlemen.
I do reach out and get some nice moon shots. In fact, this was a shot I got back in last month of the moon, and
Oh, I love that. It's gorgeous.
so what I do is I walk outside, I stand in my front lawn, I point my camera at the moon, and I take a picture. Now I'm using a full frame Nikon D810, which is just sub pro, okay, and then a Sigma 150 to 600 millimeter lens, so that gives me a nice long reach for a telephoto. And then I even have to crop into it to get this type of crop. But the camera's got enough megapixels where cropping it, and if I've got my noise setting, my ISO down pretty low, usually around 100, and I get a lot of nice detail on there. And then I use Lightroom to process it. So you can see I get just some nice detail on these craters and Maria, and just it works out well. So you don't even need a telescope. Now, if I wanted to really get in there and get some detail as far as what's going on, some people do it like almost like you're flying over the moon. That's when you need to be using a telescope. That's you can't just do that with by holding it up like I do. There's no camera that's going to let you zoom in that closely.
And as beautiful as the full moon is to take a picture of, taking it when it's half so you can get the details of the craters is the best, like the Terminator.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people will be like, "Oh wow, you must love it when it's a full moon," and I'd be like, "Nah, full moon's boring,"
Hey!
because it's
No, I told
it's
you.
No,
good.
yeah, it does cause a lot of noise. It's hard to do some observing with that full moon.
It is.
Yes.
Last
It
night
is.
was hard to get a good look at Mars. It was tough, but I still got a little bit of the atmosphere and the.
How did you see Mars with the clouds?
Oh, the
Because
clouds
I
broke
would-
up for me. I was out there for like 2 hours,
When?
and they broke
What
up.
time?
I was out there from like 11:30 to like 1:30.
That's why, because my old butt was asleep.
Yeah, I think that's when I was texting you. Yeah.
Yes, and I was asleep.
Yeah, that was last night, right? Yeah, I texted you guys just before I was going out.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
sound
but
asleep.
I
Did you
was-
forget I'm 3 hours ahead of you?
I know, I totally did forget, and I was like, oh shoot, Kurt's definitely asleep. But yeah, I was gonna definitely follow those clouds till they were separating. But yeah, it turned out being a really good night after midnight.
Well, that's good.
And I saw Jupiter and all the moons, all the Galilean moons. It was gorgeous.
That's great. Yay.
Yeah, it was
Why
great.
didn't you tell me sooner so I could have went with you? Dang.
Yeah, we'll go next
Whatever.
time. Now it's
Whatever.
summertime. You have no excuse on the weekends. We're gonna go do this. I'm gonna start renting telescopes through the Orange County astronomers. If anyone's in the Orange County area, Southern California, we have a big amateur astronomy club. It's called Orange County Astronomers. And once you're a member, it's only like $30 a year, and they have lectures from professors, different individuals, industries. We've had, I saw one of the head engineers for the Cassini spacecraft come talk, and you can actually rent telescopes from them. Dobsons, Newtonians, Schmidt-Cassegrains. They're $1,000 telescopes you can rent for like $5 for a month. It's a pretty good deal. So I'm gonna start checking out different Cassegrains, and I don't really know if I can dedicate myself to hauling around a Dob. I'm more of a backpack type. So yeah, astronomy is a good time. I'm like the type of person that likes to get out there and get my hands dirty. I've always loved like camping. I was a Girl Scout, and I've always loved to go outside. So astronomy is like my thing. I go hike up the hill here and get like a little camp spot and kind of pitch myself a little zone. Get all the gear out.
So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to pitch a great book that was sent to me for review, and I wrote up a review on it a little while ago. This was going back probably a couple of years, but it's a really handy book. It's called The Star Book, and it's got a cool cover that's like got holes in it, and you can see the word star in it and stuff. But it's a little paperback, and it's got information on all of the northern and southern constellations. It also has it got some nice charts in there. Tells you all about each constellation, what the major stars are in it, and then just basically gives you an outline of what's in. I'm looking for something handy, like, you know, it's got maps of constellations, so you can tell what you're looking at, and yeah, it's not a big book, but
super handy for observing. I mean,
yeah,
something like that you could throw in your backpack.
That is super cool.
So
yeah, I use these kind of things all the time.
It's called The Star Book. It's by Peter Grigo, and it's a really handy book for a quick look up on the constellations. It doesn't give a lot of. It's not about the mythology. It's about it's not about the mythology of the constellations. It's about what's going on in them as far as astronomy is concerned. So I'm gonna I'll drop the link in there.
And it's available now.
Oh yeah, it is available. In fact, So I just shared the link in the chat. I don't know if you want to put it up on Twitter or something. The link is to my review of it, which has some information on where it can be purchased.
I will tweet that out.
Yeah, me too.
And it's based on. It's kind of cool because it's based on area. So the first section is northern stars, northern circumpolar. The second section is northern stars, northern winter, northern spring, northern autumn, and then the second sections are the second half is all about the southern stars. So it doesn't leave anybody out, which is nice. It's a very egalitarian sky watching book.
Very cool. Thank you for showing that.
And of course, Star Walk has been my go-to on my phone for a long time. My little iPhone S here, and I'm still using the old version. They have a great new version. I just haven't gotten it yet, but it still works great. You just hold it up and go, oh, what am I looking at? And move your phone around.
Yeah, those apps are handy.
I love
you use Star Walk?
I use Star Walk. Yeah, I've been using it for a while. I get little notifications that says, hey, Mars is at opposition tonight, or hey, it's full moon. Little reminders of what's going on.
I love those. I get so excited. Sometimes they'll do like, oh, this day in history, like a space thing, like I love that. I love that.
Well, they're
I
fun
like to know about
get.
history. I don't know.
It's better than
Yeah, I
Facebook
get
stupid
fangirl excited.
It's stupid Facebook tell me that I need to log, on because I haven't logged on in, a month.
Right? You have like 100 million
And if any of our
notifications.
Well, if you want good space history, then you got to have one of these too.
Yes.
The desk calendars.
And
now,
why? And why, Jason?
Because I wrote that on the desktop calendar. I wrote all of the blurbs for every what do you call it? Every week that are in there. So that was one of my
Nice.
my projects. Not the
I have
wall
one.
calendar though.
Are you gonna do one for 2017? Because I'll totally get it.
Oh boy, it's a big job, but yeah, I mean, I would totally do that. But it was it took a while, get it all written up.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
And you did a
sure.
really good job. You did a really good job on it.
Thank you. You read them?
You're welcome, because I have it. And I'm not just being nice. You did a really good job on it.
Thank
Oh,
you.
I wish I had one. I was just telling my mom the other day I need a personal planner because I saw like a leather one. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. I need like a little personal planner. But
No, you gotta get the year in space. That's
I know, yeah. That's like perfect for me. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Come
so
on. Come
go
on.
to yearinspace.com, and it's my friend Steve. He's from Starry Night Press. He's got all this stuff available. So he's got and it's nice because every what do you call it? Every week basically. Is it week based? Yeah. It's like every week you end up getting your spot. You can write stuff in. It tells you what the moon phase is. It tells you the important stuff that happened on this date in space history.
I love that.
And then a
I
picture
love
of
that.
something awesome, and then a little blurb
Yeah.
that's written by yours truly.
Oh, those pictures are phenomenal too. I love that. You just sold me.
Aw.
You got yourself another customer.
I just ran to go get it so I could show it, and you just completely deflated my balloon.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Those
Yeah, I
things
keep-
are awesome.
Yeah, I keep mine handy. So. And there's also a wall calendar too if desktop stuff isn't your bag. And the wall calendars are super awesome. They look different. They're completely different, but you have all the same information on this. Like I said, moon phases, what's going on, moon at apogee, moon at perigee, and then important stuff in space history. So check that out. yearinspace.com. My friend Steve.
And if any of our viewers were curious about the book that Jason had mentioned earlier, the one that he had reviewed, tweet the link out. And so if just take a look at my tweets, or if you want to look for the hashtag AstroAnarchy, you should see it fairly high on the list. So if you're curious about it, that's where you can find it.
Yeah, I posted a tweet about it too.
Oh, cool.
I didn't even think about hashtag AstroAnarchy. I need to be doing that though. You got me, Kurt. You got me.
Sorry.
God, I really dropped the ball.
That's okay.
It doesn't. In fact, I just checked the link. Now my review is from 2012, and I just checked the link on there. It doesn't. Now Amazon has a bunch of used ones. I don't know if I actually don't even know if the book is technically in print. Although they are selling it. You can get it for cheap. I mean, it's one of those. It looks like it's one of those things that maybe the price got dropped. So hey, you can get a good constellation book for not a lot of money. So go for it.
Well, I don't have anything else.
Yeah, Game of Thrones gonna start soon.
You're muted. You're muted.
Okay. Whatever. Shut up. So that's probably a good time for us to end the broadcast because I know Kurt's getting really tired and crabby.
This is bedtime.
And I know.
I'm always crabby.
Krabby Patties.
Yes. For Jason and myself, it is near midnight.
It's true.
But Jason's not
Yes,
crabby.
get your ass to Mars. You know what I mean?
Oh, show your shirt. Show your
I
shirt.
know. I love that shirt. Okay, where does one get one of these? Because I need one.
Okay, am I gonna? Okay, so I got this from. Make sure everybody can see it. It says "Get your ass to Mars,"
Because that's awesome.
Pardon my French. And I got that from Buzz Aldrin's ShareSpace Foundation.
Oh, okay, yeah, I saw him wearing it. Okay, that explains it.
And
Because he was the other person I saw wearing it, and I was like, okay, JP Major was wearing that. I need this shirt. That's an awesome shirt.
so let's see. There's actually, and I will find the link right now. So we can share it. Yeah, there's a spot on there on ShareSpace where you can buy T-shirts and other things too. Apparel and accessories and stuff like that. Now, what happens when you buy a T-shirt? The proceeds go towards helping kids learn about science and space. It's a STEM supporting foundation that brings those programs to kids and brings kids to those programs in various ways. So it's all about inspiring a new generation to get interested in science, technology, and space exploration. So that's what ShareSpace is all about.
And we really need to do that.
We do.
Yes, we do.
We do, especially being in the community. Like it takes effort to get people involved. So.
And when you teach them when they're little, and get them enthusiastic about science and space, they're our future, and we need to get them excited about it.
Hey, like they say, the person that's gonna first step foot on Mars is alive today.
Yes,
so.
That's really cool
to
think about.
Yeah,
that is awesome.
We are all living right now in the generation of Martians.
Yes, we are.
It's funny because like one of the first like scary movies I remember is like Mars Attacks.
It's not a scary movie.
Well, like it was scary for me because I was like little.
Oh.
When like the first time I saw it, because like when it came out, it was like I like probably wasn't allowed to watch it for like a couple of years. Like I was like, whoa, like aliens, like. Ah! But it's a great movie. It's a great comedy.
Okay, we are going to go ahead and end the show because it's getting late, and I don't want Kurt to kill me. So I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. This is a show that was very close to my heart, and I know it was to Carolina as well. So thank you again to Jason. So I know that I'm going to be making you come on more shows, so just be prepared.
Making.
Yes,
nice.
Making. Carolina, thank you. Kurt, thank you. And thank you to everybody, because without you, we do not have a show. And remember to go out and look at the moon if you, and Mars and Jupiter, right? Saturn. Well,
Jupiter's out there too.
Okay. Yeah, they're all just around that little area. So go out and look at it. And as always, go out, look up, and discover. Thank you, everybody. Bye.